Good morning vlog. It's Wednesday and I'm here to update because I finished So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I really enjoyed it. I had so low expectations for this because everyone I saw that read it gave it like 2 or 3 stars. I mean, I kind of get it because maybe if you go into this book expecting like a typical vampire novel, that's not what you're going to get. And I understand that you might be disappointed. But I had a great time reading this. I was hooked from the very beginning. And it just kept on giving as it went on. So yeah, I'm really happy I read this. So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison is the story of Sloane, who is approaching her 36th birthday, as far as I remember. And she's feeling a bit stuck in life. She's feeling like unsatisfied with everything. She doesn't like her body anymore. She doesn't feel desirable. She is stuck in this marriage that isn't really working. He cheats on her. She doesn't really feel anything for him. And then for her birthday, she goes on a weekend trip with her best friend, who is like a wild child. She is so glamorous. She is the exact opposite of Sloane. So they go on this trip and some strange things start happening right away. Like there's actually this one pretty creepy scene in which she's sleeping in this resort where they're staying, and she sees or feels like somebody is watching her from the window, and the morning after there's like a handprint on it. And then they go to a party where their lives are changed. Like the party does not go as planned at all. And obviously there's vampires involved. So yeah, like I felt like this book, more than a vampire novel, it was about womanhood and women's bodies and women's pleasure even. There was really a lot about how very often women are discarded once they become old. So yeah, I felt like this book, more than about vampires, was about women's bodies when they age and they are not considered desirable anymore, and all of the kind of lack of confidence that comes from it, and the unsatisfaction with life, and just feeling like the way it turned out wasn't at all what you'd been dreaming about. I felt like this book had just a lot more to say than just entertainment, you know? So that's part of why I enjoyed it. I also really enjoyed the relationship dynamic between Naomi and Sloane, because it was a bit of a strange friendship. It was a bit toxic at times, but also wholesome some other times. Like they always have each other's backs basically, but sometimes they do things to purposefully spite each other. In any case, this was my first Rachel Harrison. I'd never read anything by her before, but now I definitely want to try her other books. I don't know which one of them I should start with because there's quite a few, I think. So that's So Thirsty. I don't know if I said the rating. I think I'm gonna give this 4 stars. This feels like a 4 to me, and I don't know, maybe even a 4.25, because yeah, I feel like it had a lot of important things to say. There's actually some pretty gory and graphic scenes, but I would say that that's not the main point of the book. It's mainly, I think maybe the vampire part is kind of just a metaphor for other things. Here are the 4 books I've read so far, and I think that maybe the next book I'm going to pick up for this vlog is going to be Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman, because I have been able to access the audiobook for that. I don't have a physical copy, but I will listen to the audiobook while I play Stardew Valley, as I've been doing for the last couple of books, and hopefully it will work out just fine. Also, it started snowing here yesterday. I woke up and it was all white outside. So that was a surprise. I'm okay with it. Like last year, I had a bit of a crisis when it started snowing, because last year it started snowing in mid-October, and that's just rude. Like that's just really, really rude. You can't just snow before Halloween. That is my opinion. Just like we can't have Christmas decorations out before Halloween. That should be illegal. I'm not a huge fan of snow. I was before I moved to Norway, and then I moved here and snow is pretty at first, but it very quickly becomes just inconvenient. So yeah, I'm already kind of like dreading having to go out later today because it's slippery. And I'm terrible at walking on snow and frozen things. But this year I'm at least better prepared than I was last year. I bought some special boots with spikes under them so that hopefully I will not die every time I go out because I slip on the ice. That's all for now, me ranting about winter in Norway. And I will see you when I've read Incidents Around the House. Hello again. It's a couple of hours later, and I just wanted to update you because I've started listening to Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Like, I don't love that the narrator is actually a child, I think. Like, she sounds like an actual child, and hearing the voice in my ears constantly, it's kind of jarring. I don't love the way that it sounds, but it does make sense since the main character that we're following is a child. So makes sense, even though it doesn't sound great. It's kind of squeaky and it just, my ears don't love that, but it's fine. It's fine. There has just been a chapter in which other mommy, like I will explain the synopsis in a moment, but there's basically this child who sees this being whom she calls other mommy, and other mommy asks if she can go into this child's heart. And so far the child has been saying no, but yeah, it's like this being that lives inside her house and inside her closet. It's really creepy. Like, I don't know where the story is going yet. So far that's all I can tell you, but there's just been a description of other mommy, and it was so creepy. Like, I love it. I love it. I'm having a blast listening to it. And as I said, like, the description was just like, wow. I'm having a great time. And in the meantime, I am playing Stardew Valley. This is this is my character on my farm. I'm I don't know if you care, but I'm having such a blast playing Stardew Valley and listening to audiobooks. It's the perfect combo, truly. And right now it's winter in the game and it's winter outside, so it just feels perfect, even though winter is my least favorite season in Stardew Valley as much as in real life. Yeah, just a quick little update, and I will come back to you once I've read some more. Hello, it's the same day, just a few hours later, once again. And I'm updating because I finished Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. I read the whole thing in one day. So yeah, I just wanted to come here to say that I loved it. I loved it so much. That book was actually so creepy. And okay, I don't really get scared while reading. Maybe it's because I've read so many by now that it just doesn't, I'm kind of desensitized to the whole thing, which it's not the same with movies. It doesn't matter how many I watch, there are still some things in horror movies that scare me, but Incidents Around the House was one of the scariest books that I read this year. This and We Used to Live Here, I would say. Maybe this even more, because there were a few moments in this that just really got to me. And I listened to most of it while at home, alone, and even if it was light outside. Like when I was turning off all the lights before I got out today, I just like kept looking behind me and just was a bit wary when looking at reflections and closets. So yeah, this book got to me. So I had to give it a high rating. I am still unsure if I want to give it a 5-star, but it's very close. It's either like a very, very high 4, like 4.75, or a 5-star. Because I had the blast with it. I loved it so much, and I didn't think I would. I thought it would just be okay. But no, I guess I need to read more Josh Malerman. I only read Bird Box by Josh Malerman before, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like my favorite thing, but it was fine. And then I read a few short stories by him, but never any other full-length novel, I don't think. So, but I would love to read Daphne, for example. If Incidents Around the House ever comes out in this country, I might grab a physical copy. Because I've mentioned it a few times. It's completely unavailable here. I had to log into Audible US in order to be able to listen to this book or read it in any possible way. It's just completely not something that you can get hold of here, which is really sad. I've heard it described by some reviewers as Coraline meets Paranormal Activity, and I have not read Coraline nor watched Paranormal Activity, but as far as I know, like I know more or less what they're about, and I know more or less what happens in them, so I would say it's pretty correct. Like, I've seen some clips, I've seen the trailers for Paranormal Activity, and I would say that it reminded me a lot of it, and it reminds me in general of horror movies with haunted houses, with like entities living in houses, and these entities are very scary. I would 100% recommend it if you're looking for something that might give you the chills and that will entertain you, for sure. Like, yes, so good. So yeah, now I just have to pick what I'm going to be reading next. I am just in the mood to listen to more audiobooks. I will look at what's available on either Audible or Everend, and then I will pick my next read, and I will let you know probably in the next clip. Also, I was speaking about winter earlier, and today I went out for the first time after it snowed, and wow, that was a nightmare. I am not made for this. I am just a Mediterranean girl that's stuck in a frozen place and doesn't know what to do, because it was tragic. I almost fell like at least 3 times, and I had spikes under my feet. I bought shoes with spikes under them for this purpose, and I still almost died at least 3 or 4 times on my way to town. So yeah, I bought more spikes, bigger and better spikes, hopefully, to add to the already present ones. And I just hope to figure out how to walk on the goddamn ice, because I can't live like this until April when the ice melts. There's probably a term in English that isn't spikes to refer to what I'm thinking. But in any case, I hope it gets better, because this is just tragic. I'm gonna go take a shower and have dinner, and then I will get back to you once I've decided what I'm going to be reading next. Hello, it's the next day, once again. And
I'm here to update the vlog because I have read This Girl's House. Like, yeah, that's the book I chose to read after whatever I finished before that, after Incidents Around the House. And I saw that the audiobook for it was available on Audible, so I just went for it. And I gave it 4 stars. This Girl's House is a story set in 1962, and it's a Southern Gothic story. It's about Gemma, who is a Black woman who lives in Chicago, but her life is kind of at a point where everything is just kind of not going well. Her partner cheats on her. Her father dies, I think. She gets let go from her job as a teacher. So when she gets this offer to go work for this rich family in New Orleans, she accepts, although she doesn't really do as much research, maybe, as she should have. Because when she gets there and she sees that like everyone in town just kind of doesn't even want to talk about this family and kind of almost seems afraid of them, she gets a little bit suspicious. And she goes over to their place to see, to meet them and start working for them. And things are pretty suspicious from the start. This family is also Black, but they pass as white. So they pretty much behave like white people as well. And they treat Gemma, our protagonist, not very well. At least most of the people in this family don't really treat her well from the start. They treat her as inferior because of the fact that she's darker skinned. So, yeah, and they are just like generally really weird. And I don't know, I felt really unsettled from the moment she arrived on their property because they gave me the creeps. So yeah, she thinks that she's there to tutor some child, but she finds out pretty soon that that's not at all why she's there, why they have hired her. Also, another detail about her is that she can see ghosts. She is afraid of them, so she doesn't talk to them, she doesn't interact with them, she just tries to just not see them. And she gets to this family's place. She starts working as like some kind of, not even secretary, but she like helps a bit around the house, and she feels like it is all very suspicious. Basically, she starts like looking a bit into this family, and she finds out that the real reason why she's there is not to be anyone's tutor or secretary or whatever, but she's there to break a curse. And like, this is not a spoiler, it says in the synopsis, I just checked. So yeah, they basically hire her because they think that she's gonna be the one to break this curse that's been placed on them, that prevents them from leaving the property, that prevents anyone belonging to this family from ever leaving the property. So they have to spend like, they have been cursed like this for many years. So this family has basically only had each other for like 20 plus years, and they haven't been able to ever get out of their house and property and never see anyone apart from each other for 20 plus years. So yeah, that's terrifying. But yeah, that's not even the most terrifying part, because the more Gemma stays there, the more secrets she unearths. And some of them really caught me off guard, and some of them I predicted. So I have to say that I read afterwards that this is a debut novel, and wow, it was a great debut novel. As I said, I gave it a solid 4 stars. I really had a good time with it, although I think that it would have benefited a little bit from being a bit shorter, because I felt like at times it kind of dragged a little bit, and I felt myself kind of losing, not interest, but rather more focus, attention. I listened to this purely as audiobook, so I don't have a physical copy to hold, but sometimes I felt like I was kind of drifting off in some parts, and then like the book would catch my attention again. So that's why it's not a 5, but it did have so many elements that I really, really loved. Like it had a whole kind of occult element, and I really like the Southern Gothic atmosphere. So although I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction, I don't care much for historical settings most of the time. Sometimes they are great. Like some of my favorite books are actually historical, like Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez is at least partly set in different times. Yeah, and that's never been an issue. But I don't know, I guess it really all depends on the plot and atmosphere that the author creates. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this. It reminded me a lot of The Reformatory by Tananarive, which I read earlier this year, because in there too the protagonist sees ghosts, and it's also historical, it's also Southern, it's also a lot about racism and racism throughout history. So they had a lot in common, and also the fact that it's almost all set in one place. It just reminded me a lot of it. And they also called the ghosts haints in both books. So yeah, if you enjoyed The Reformatory, I would definitely recommend reading This Cursed House. Also, another similarity was that in This Cursed House as well, there were ghosts, but they weren't the things to be afraid of. Like in both books, it was the living people that were actually more harmful and more dangerous than the supernatural. So yeah, if those are things that sound interesting to you, or if you enjoyed The Reformatory by Tananarive, I would strongly advise picking this one up. So as far as the next book that I'm going to pick up, I was thinking of picking up Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina, because I got the audiobook for it on Audible as well, and it's ready to go. So I'm going to be starting that next. Hello vlog, it's currently Friday, and I've just finished listening to the audiobook for Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina. I'm not sure I enjoyed this very much necessarily. There were a few pretty creepy scenes that were pretty interesting, and also the whole mythological part was interesting, but yeah, let me just read you the synopsis and then I'll tell you about what I thought. A man lunges in front of a car. An elderly woman silently drowns herself. A corpse sits up in its coffin and speaks. On this reservation, not all is what it seems. All Noemi Broussard wanted was a fresh start, with a new boyfriend who actually treats her right and a plan to move from the reservation she grew up on, just like her beloved Uncle Louis before her. Things are finally looking up for Noemi, until the news of her boyfriend's apparent suicide brings her world crumbling down. But the facts about Roddy's death just don't add up, and Noemi isn't the only one who suspects that something menacing might be lurking within their tribal lands. After over a decade away, Uncle Louis has returned to the reservation, bringing with him a past full of secrets, horror, and what might be the key to determining Roddy's true cause of death. Together, Noemi and Louis set out to find answers, but as they get closer to the truth, Noemi begins to wonder whether it might be best for some secrets to remain buried. I listened to it as an audiobook. I don't own a physical copy. I don't know if maybe my enjoyment suffered a bit from that, because I found it quite confusing, unfortunately. It might be because of the audiobook experience, but I couldn't really tell when we were switching timelines. I could tell when we were switching POV because the narrator changed, but just the timelines got me a little confused, and also there was a lot going on. There were a lot of different plot lines, I guess, going on. So I don't know, I found it kind of confusing and not particularly engaging, unfortunately, which is kind of the same problem I had with this Sisters of the Lost Nation by this author, that it just didn't really grip me. Yeah, unfortunately, this book just wasn't for me. I'm not saying it's a bad book by any means, but I just don't think that it was really for me. But as I said, it wasn't all bad. There were a few parts that I really enjoyed. As I said, the mythological part was pretty cool. And those parts, I could feel like my interest rising again. But yeah. Also, I didn't love that there were two narrators. And the woman narrator, I don't remember their names, but there was a woman and a man. The woman sounded nice. I liked her voice and I liked the way she spoke. I did not love how the man narrated his parts. That also kind of didn't really help with the experience, I guess. So yeah, if I get to take away something from this, it's that Nick Medina's books need to be read physically because they don't work as well as audiobooks. But so there's that. I think I'm going to give it about a 3-star rating and move on to the next book, which is going to be The Book of Witching by C.J. Cooke. And I'm really excited about this. I've read The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cooke a while ago, and I really enjoyed that. So I have really high expectations for this also. This edition is so pretty. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. But I think I'm also going to be listening to that as audiobook because I am currently working on this puzzle. So I really want to keep working on my puzzle. It's The World of Dracula. And it's not an easy puzzle. I haven't puzzled in many years. So I probably should have picked an easier one to start, but I went for a 1,000-piece puzzle that is also like full of small details. Yeah, but I'm really excited about it. I've been working on it all morning while listening to Indian Burial Ground, and I can't wait to continue. Like, I had to force myself to step away from it for a moment to film this update because I finished the book. But yeah, I want to continue this puzzle, so I'm going to do so while I listen to The Book of Witching. And I will let you know once I have made some progress in it or once I've finished it. Hello vlog, it's Saturday, and yesterday evening I ended up finishing The Book of Witching. I think I read it all in one sitting, which is kind of crazy. It's not like the shortest book either, so, but I just loved it a lot. It was excellent. I had such a great time reading it. I was so engaged and I didn't even feel time pass by while reading it. Spent basically the whole afternoon yesterday working on my puzzle, which is right here. I'm going to continue working on it because I haven't finished it yet, and listening to this book. This book is about this woman called Clem who has a daughter. Clem gets a call that her daughter is at the hospital because she's been the victim of some kind of accident related to fire. So she's in the hospital because she has severe burns on her body and they don't even know if she's going to survive. So Clem, of course, goes to the hospital. Her daughter was supposed to be like on a hiking trip with her boyfriend and a friend of theirs. And the boyfriend dies in the fire while the other friend that they were with disappears. There's no explanation for this because it was supposed to be just a hiking trip, right? When her daughter Erin wakes up, she claims to be someone called Nix. She doesn't even know who Erin is. So yeah, there is, and she behaves in a really strange way. And at the same time, we get a few chapters following this woman in 1590 something. I don't remember the exact year, but following this woman in 1590, in the 1590s, that gets accused of being a witch and who gets tried for witchcraft. And we, of course, get to see how these stories are related through time. Also, it's all set in Scotland, and the narrator of the audiobook had this most beautiful Scottish accent. I love Scottish accent, so I just really, really loved listening to her. Like, I would pick up audiobooks in the future just because she's the narrator. Like, I need to look up what other audiobooks she's narrated because I want to read them. I don't even care what they're about. I want to listen to this woman speak. Is that weird? But yeah, just a heads up, if you listen to audiobooks, this one was excellent. But yeah, so the story has a lot to do with witchcraft and historical witch trials. And if you didn't know, which how would you know? I have written my master's thesis about the literary representation of historical witches and also fantasy witches in, well, Scandinavian literature. I did also study a bit what happened in England during the witchcraft trials, and in Scotland specifically, because in Scotland is where it was worst. And so I have read a bunch about the subject, so it was actually really, really nice to see that this author knew what she was talking about when she was writing about it, that CJ Cooke has done her research and isn't just going with stereotypes. That was such a fun surprise. I hadn't read a book about witches or historical witchcraft trials in a while. I've read so many for my thesis that I just, for a bit after, I just stopped completely. But now I want to read more. I want to get into the witchy books again. I really, really loved everything about this book. It was spooky. It was, I mean, not necessarily as horror as some of the other books in this vlog, but it still had like a beautiful atmosphere. The characters were so well written and felt like real people, and the setting was incredible. I loved it. There were a few scenes that were actually spooky as well, so I'm very happy that I own a physical copy, which I've been looking at it. It's been over there this whole time and I haven't been holding it. So yeah, I'm happy that I have this, because I might even want to reread this at some point in the future. I've read only one book by CJ Cooke before. I've read The Lighthouse Witches, which I also really enjoyed, although I feel like this one was even better. I gave it 4.75. I don't know if it's entirely a 5-star. I think I might want to reread it physically before I decide on that. But yeah, I had such a great time. As for what I'm going to be reading next, I have some sad news. They're sad for me. I don't know, maybe they're not as sad for you, but I have checked which ones of the 3 books that I have left. There's only 3, without counting The Angel of Indian Lake, because that's part of a series and I'm not considering it because I read the first one and didn't enjoy it very much. So yeah, I only have 3 other books left to choose from, and they are House of Bone and Rain by Gabino Iglesias, The Bug Wife by Kay Cronister, and Blood Like Mine by Stuart Neville, I think. And look, I have checked which ones of these would be available either on Libby, Audible, or Everend for me. And there's only one that I found that is available on Everend for me, because the other two have really long waiting lists on Libby, are not available on the European or UK version of Audible, which is what I have, and I don't want to have to spend more money for this video because I've already had to buy several of these books, and I'd rather just not have to spend any more money on these books. So the one book that I can read without having to spend more money is Blood Like Mine by Stuart Neville, because that's available on Everend for me. And that was the one I wanted to read the least, I have to say. That one does not sound good to me. I read the synopsis and I really couldn't care less, I have to say. But I do want to get at least one more book read in this vlog, and that's the only one that's available to me. That's what I'm going to listen to next while I finish my puzzle. And I guess I'll let you know what I think. Maybe it will surprise me, maybe it's a good thing that I'm going into this with low expectations, because what do you know, maybe it's excellent. Maybe I will love it. So yeah, I guess I will update you when I have read Blood Like Mine.
Hello vlog, I'm here for the final update. I look like this because I've just taken the thumbnail picture for this video, and I am finally here to end the vlog. This has been a very long vlog. I hope everything goes smoothly in uploading it. But before we move on to ending this, I need to update you about Blood Like Mine, because I just finished it right like a minute ago, and I'm gonna give it 2 stars. I knew it wouldn't be for me, so it's kind of on me, okay? I get it. I should not have picked it up. I knew that it wouldn't be a book for me. I didn't love it. It was about a mother whose daughter is turned into a vampire, and in order to feed her daughter the blood that she needs, she starts killing people. And so it's like the book is following her, just finding the victims. So we follow the story from her point of view and from a policeman's point of view who's trying to catch them. And I did not like it. I just did not. I did not find the plot interesting, and I generally don't find like cat and mouse type games particularly interesting, if I have to be honest. I don't like books following police chasing killers. And this story was just, it was so dramatic. If there's one thing that I don't like in books or movies or any type of media, is when a story is sad and dramatic just for the sake of being sad and dramatic. Like, no, don't. I really did not like that. And also, the daughter was like, her real name was Monika, but everyone was calling her Moonflower. And I just, oh my god, if I hear the word Moonflower one more time, I swear, I'm just gonna pop, because I hated that. Why would you do that? It was so cheesy. That's a wrap on the reading updates for this vlog. And I just thought that before I end the vlog, I might just as well give you a final rating, because I have now read 17 out of 20 books for the Goodreads Choice Awards. I wish I'd had time to read all of them. I might have time to pick them up later on. I have a hold for House of Bone and Rain, I think, from the library, but It's like several weeks yet until I'm gonna get it, so I might read that in a future vlog, because when I read the plot for it, I actually thought it was pretty interesting. I will probably react to the final round in my next vlog and to the winners in the one after that. I don't remember how much time there is between the two, but they might be in the same vlog or they might be in two separate ones. But in any case, let's do a ranking, a final ranking of all the books that I read for the Goodreads Choice Awards. So I think I will just try to put the book covers up here, and starting from the bottom, the lowest of the lowest, the absolute worst book that I've read for the Goodreads Choice Awards is Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert. Yikes. That one was a disaster. And I gave it 1 star. I hated it. So that's the worst book in the list, and it shouldn't even be in the horror section. Then the second worst book will probably be Murder Road by Simone St. James. I read that in a different vlog. I will try to link it down below if you want to hear my thoughts about it. Because yeah, I read that a few vlogs ago and I hated it. And I have a whole rant about it in that vlog in which I read it. So yeah, check it out if you want to know my thoughts. But I thought it was horrible and I would not recommend it. Also, shouldn't be in the horror category either, because it's a thriller with one paranormal element. So therefore, they put it in horror. As the third worst, because we're still talking about books I didn't like, Blood Like Mine. I gave it 2 stars. Oh, by the way, I gave Murder Road like 1.5 stars. And yeah, Blood Like Mine, 2 stars. Would not recommend unless you like reading about police chasing a desperate person. I Was a Teenage Slasher would be in 14th place for me. I read that earlier this summer before I started my channel. I did not really enjoy it. I gave it either 2.5 or 3 stars. Unfortunately, I just did not find the story engaging. I found myself listening to it and just wishing it would be over with. So that's usually not a good sign. I'm sad because I want to love Stephen Graham Jones books and I wanted to love that one so bad, but unfortunately it just wasn't for me. It's probably my least favorite Stephen Graham Jones that I've read yet. So in 13th place, I would put You Like It Darker by Stephen King, because that was a 3 star. It was fine. It was just completely forgettable for me. He is an author that sometimes I love out of the depths of my heart. Like Pet Sematary is one of my favorite books of all time. And then sometimes I just don't get it. Sometimes I'm just bored. So yeah, I unfortunately didn't love this one, but it wasn't too bad either. Then in 12th place, I would put Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina, because that one too was about a 3 star for me. It was just fine. I thought it was a bit messy. I didn't love the audiobook, like the narrator was not my favorite, and the story was just fine. So for the 11th spot, we have Diavola by Jennifer Thorne. I read this book like in April, I think it was March, April, because I was in Italy then for the Easter holidays, and this book is set in Italy, so I thought I would just take it with me, read it while being in the place where it's set, because I was literally in Tuscany. So that was an experience and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it around 3.5 or 4 stars. I thought it was great and the setting really did help. I actually really love that. I just thought it was maybe like a little bit too long. There is one part of this book that's set in another place. I wish it was entirely set in Italy and that there had been more scary scenes, I guess.
So in 10th place, I think I would put This Cursed House by Sandeen, because that too was a great book, was an excellent debut novel. I would recommend it, and I really enjoyed the reading experience. I just wish it had been a bit shorter, and I don't know, I wanted to maybe explore the spooky part, the ghosts part a bit more, but it was still great. Just have some marginal complaints, but the novel in of itself was excellent. I gave it 4 stars. In 9th place, I guess I would put What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher, because I read that as soon as it came out earlier this year. And I'm one of those people that really, really enjoyed What Moves the Dead. And, well, if you didn't know, The Fall of the House of Usher is my favorite story by Edgar Allan Poe, and also my favorite short story ever. Like, out of all short stories that have ever been published, that one is my number one. And What Moves the Dead is based on The Fall of the House of Usher. So I greatly enjoyed that. And then What Feasts at Night is the sequel for What Moves the Dead. So yeah, it's following a completely different plot line, I guess, with the same main character. So yeah, I had a great time reading it. What can I say? I know that a lot of people didn't enjoy this one, but I have a fun time with all of T. Kingfisher's books. I love her humor, I love her horror scenes, and this book was just really, really good, in my opinion. I think I gave it also a 4 star. Very solid sequel, and I hope that she continues with the series. I think that The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monika Kim would take 8th place for me. I gave that a 4 stars as well. I don't think I read it in a vlog. I'm pretty sure I read it this summer while I was still not vlogging, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very solid debut novel, and I would recommend it if you enjoy novels about unhinged women. And now let's move on to 7th place, which would probably be for So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison, which is another novel that I was really surprised by. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. And now I want to read all of Rachel Harrison's other novels. Let's just move on to the next book. And that would be probably, maybe, The Book of Witching by C.J. Cooke. I really enjoyed this one. So, I don't know, this is a bit blurry territory for me. I don't know if this should be above or below the next books that I'm going to name, but I loved this book, and I am planning on rereading it at some point. Like, it's one of those books that I think will become even better with time. Then, let's enter the top 5. And I don't know, I guess at spot number 5, I am so indecisive, but maybe Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. I loved it. I really, really loved that book. I wish I had a physical copy of it because I also want to reread that at some point. I love that one. It was so creepy, and it did get like a 4.75 from me, just like The Book of Witching. I don't know if I'm going to change these scores in the future, but for now, these two are pretty much equivalent to me, just as the next one. So yeah, both The Book of Witching, Incidents Around the House, and My Darling Dreadful Thing by Johanna van Veen get a 4.75 from me. They were almost perfect. And no, I would not be able to tell you how to make them perfect. I just, 5-star books just give me a slightly different feeling from all other books. So, and these didn't quite have it, but almost. So yeah, these 3 books are all books that I greatly enjoyed and that I would really highly recommend. But yeah, all for different reasons, but all were so good. So good. Let's get into my top 3.
And none of the top 3 are books that I read in this video, which it's a bit of a shame, but some of them, or actually all of them, are in vlogs. So that's actually a very nice thing. I will try to link the other vlogs down below so that you can hear my full thoughts about these. But at 3rd place, I would put We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver, because I gave it 5 stars. I loved it, and I would just also highly recommend that. It was such a great book, like so creepy and so just something that I keep thinking about. Sometimes I just will remember certain scenes from it and I will be feeling creeped out, and that's what I want from life, you know. So yeah, I love that book. And then actually sharing 1st place, I cannot pick a favorite between these 2. So let's just say that the 2 books that will be sharing 1st place for me are A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez and Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. Those 2 are my heart, and they will be in my top 10 books of the year for sure. Like, I love them so much. They're 2 books that couldn't be more different from each other in many ways, but at the same time, they just have qualities that I so greatly enjoy, and both of them just have my whole heart. I adore them, and I can't pick a favorite. I did vote for A Sunny Place for Shady People in the opening round for the Goodreads Choice Award, and I'm planning on voting for Bury Your Gaze in the next one. But yeah, that will be all for this humongous vlog. I just can't really find words to say how much I appreciate you if you're still here, because wow, we've been through a lot. It's been 2 tough weeks, but it's finally come to an end. And if you want to see my reaction to the final round and the winner, then check out my next vlogs that are coming. And if you've gotten to this point, leave me a like, maybe leave me a comment, tell me if you've read any of these books, if you have voted for any of them. Yeah, just let me know. I would love to know. Which books have you voted for? Do you care about the Goodreads Choice Awards? Just let me know. I am so curious to see what everyone else is voting for and what everyone else has read from any category, not just horror. I am open to everything. And maybe in the future I will pick up some of the books that were in the other categories that sound cool, because why not, right? So if you have any recommendations, please leave them down below in the comments. And I will see you next week with another video. Bye!